Here's the plan for the business meeting. It's going to be quite, there's lots of things that we're going to talk about. First, I'll just get the ball rolling I just want to, give you a brief report about the organization, but mostly really, I just want to thank all the people who made this PLDI happen. And then Ishil is going to tell us, the program chair, Ishil Dilig, is going to tell us about how the paper selection process went. Then we'll hear from the AEC chairs on how the artifact evaluation went. We'll hear from the student research competition. And then we'll get a sneak preview of PLDI 2023 from Steve Blackburn. Then Jeff is going to tell us a bit about the general state of Sig Plan. Andrew is going to tell us about Topos. And Talia, I hope she's here. I saw her somewhere. There she is going to tell us about Sig Plan M. And then we'll throw the floor open for any questions you might have. Oh, did I skip Tony and Ishil for the Sig Plan Awards, which is the highlight actually of this business meeting? Tony just came in, so Tony and Ishil will announce a bunch of the Sig Plan Awards and tell us about the winners and the citations and so on. Okay, so let me get the ball rolling with the General Chair's report. As I said, there's not much to report. We've just had a lot of people show up. I'm very happy about that. As far as I can tell, the wheels did not fall off over the last 4 days. And I hope you've had fun. There's still a whole day's program left. We have the 2 PLDI tracks. One of them is going to be in this room. The other one is going to be the, the virtual track. So it's all the speakers who couldn't make it in person. So they're going to be doing their talks online. And then there's the 2 parallel Sig Plan tracks. Okay, first, once again, let me thank our sponsors, the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze sponsors. They really make all the, they are the grease. They provide the grease for the wheels, as it were. But really, I want to thank the wheels themselves, which is to say there's a whole lot of people that make PLDI happen. Here's some of them. Nikki and Jinu, who ran the artifact evaluation. Arjun and Will, who did the publicity on the web. Ravi and Sasha especially. They're the, the rainmakers. They're the ones who hit up all the sponsors and did an admirable job. We got a lot of sponsorship this year. So thank you, Ravi and Sasha. Tyler and Juby, who ran the student research competition. Alexandra and Nadia, who organized the workshops and tutorials. And Dan and Madan, who have taken on this new role as diversity and inclusion chairs. So thank you, all of you. Let's have a round of applause for all these folks. I especially want to thank Dan. I don't know if he's here. He might be sleeping. Because Dan, over the past 6 months, has fielded a billion requests for the website, putting up the schedule, just making sure everything is tickety-boo. And Dan is kind of, he's pretty heroic. He's been doing this for several years. So for any future general chairs out there, if you can get Dan Barowi to be your website chair, that will make your life a lot easier. So thank you, Dan. Next, I want to thank Rachit. So Rachit Nigam from Cornell, who is our social events coordinator. Rachit, you're right there, so you can stand and wave if you like. Thank you, Rachit. And there he is, coordinating a social event right on the beach last night or the day before, I forget. And now there are some people without whom just none of this would be possible. So it would be simply just inconceivable. So if you see them floating around, you should go and personally express your gratitude. Guilherme Espada, Hanali Tavante, who's hiding over there, and Matt Bowers. They are respectively our video, virtualization, and student volunteer chairs. And Hanali in particular, here she is, minus her mask, in a brief sort of moment of relaxation where she's glad everything is working out. All right, so thank you especially to Guilherme, Hanali, and Matt. And all the student volunteers who are really just make everything happen invisibly behind the scenes. So, huge round of applause to them. I mean, sorry, I'm fiddling with the microphone. I wanted to especially thank Mike Moschel and Carol Mann. I remember Mike and Carol from my very first conference in Portland, Popple 2002. They were right there, Carol and Mike, smiling away, beaming at every participant as they came in and signed up. They have been with Sig Plan for 32 years, and they're going to retire at the end of this year. So this is, that's just It's an incredible amount of service. Nominally, they run just registration and regmaster, but Carol does everything. So for those of you who were not there at Popple, Niringa, who you'll hear about in a second, was unwell, and Carol essentially doubled up as Niringa, and she was running a whole bunch of things at Popple. So thank you, Mike and Carol, for your incredible service to Sig Plan. And finally, I want to thank Niringa. I don't know if she's right there. And I found a goofy picture of her with Francesco photobombing. Niringa is our conference manager, and she does everything. Long story short, she just, she's like a Mary Poppins-like figure who just makes everything work. We don't have a dongle. Somehow she fishes it out of her pocket. I don't know how it works. But thank you very much, Niringa. Okay, this I already said. So that's basically it. That's all that I have to say as the program, as general chair. I will now hand it over to Ishil, who will give us the program chair's report. Thank you, Ishil.
Thank you, Ranjit. Everyone can hear me? Mic's working? Okay, great. So as Ranjit said, I'm Ishil Dilik. I am this year's program committee chair, and I'm going to tell you about the process, like how we ran the PC, the paper selection. I'm going to show you some statistics, and then finally I'll conclude by offering my own opinions about what worked and what didn't work. So first, let me start by telling you the process. So as you all know, PLDI 2021 ended up making several changes to the usual paper selection process due to the difficulties imposed by COVID, generally speaking. And this year, with the blessing of the PLDI steering committee, I decided to adopt all the changes from the PLDI 2021 experiment so that we can assess how this works maybe in a post-COVID world. And in particular, the two big changes I adopted from the PLDI 21 experiment is we had a single flat PC. So for those of you who are familiar with how things worked with pre-PLDI 2021, we had the usual program committee. We had an external program committee that was responsible for just handling PC papers. And in addition, we also had an external review committee. So last year, we had this experiment to kind of like merge together all those three layers into a single flat PC. And I adopted that change this year, and we had one flat PC that was much larger with 120 PC members this year. And 4 of the 120 PC members were selected as area chairs. And the role of the area chairs was not to review papers, but they were responsible for reading all the reviews submitted by the PC, make sure, basically they were there to enforce quality control, and they usually went back and forth with the reviewers to try to get them to, improve the quality of the reviews. And at the end, they were also responsible for publishing a meta review that summarized the general PC discussion, so the authors got kind of a more global overview of the discussion that took place. Another change that I adopted from the PLDI 2021 experiment was to use the Toronto paper matching system for paper assignments. So for those of you who are not familiar with TPMS, this is basically a machine learning based algorithm that basically kind of processes your website and looks over the keywords in your papers and uses that information to make the paper assignments. And basically what that means is that bidding, normally PC members have to go through this arduous bidding process, so that was optional. And you could enter bids, but if you didn't, you just needed to upload your web page or your representative publications, and then TPMS takes all of these signals into account to make the reviewer assignments, and of course it takes conflicts of interest into account when doing that. And one thing that's not on this slide that I also want to highlight, one additional change that I adopted from PLDI 2021 was that we did not have an in-person PC meeting. In fact, we didn't even have a virtual PC meeting. All of the discussion took place asynchronously through HotCRP. And in addition to those changes that we adopted from 2021, we also used the general standard PLDR reviewing process from the last several years. So in particular, we had full double-blind reviewing. So in contrast to the lightweight double-blind reviewing, where you may reveal authorship at some point in the process, in full double-blind reviewing, we only reveal authorship after acceptance and only for accepted papers. So if a paper was rejected, the PC members still have no idea who the authors are. And like previous years, we also had a 2-round review process. And the way it worked is, in the first round of reviews, each paper was assigned 3 reviewers. And then if a paper got at least 1 positive review, or it looked like there was not enough expertise in terms of the reviewers, they went on the round 2, where I got at least 1 additional review in the second round. And once the PC members submitted their reviews, there was a 3-day author response period as usual, where the authors got a chance to respond to questions and concerns raised in the reviews. And then after that, there was a 2-week discussion period. So again, unlike previous years, no in-person or virtual PC meeting. All the discussion took place asynchronously online, and when we failed to reach a consensus, in a few cases, we ended up scheduling some ad hoc Zoom meetings on a per paper basis. And also similar to previous years, all the papers were accepted conditionally, and there was a shepherding process where we made sure that the authors actually made all the changes that they promised in their rebuttal. Okay, so that's the process. So now let me show you some statistics. So first, let's talk about the reviewing load. So one of the advantages of this flat PC structure is it reduces the reviewing load for PC members. So because we had so many people on the PC, the median load in terms of the number of papers they had to review was 10, whereas if you look at the 3-layer structure, the reviewing load is typically much, much larger. And of course, when we didn't have enough expertise on the PC, and there were some papers where, despite having so many people on the PC, we actually needed to reach out to the broader community. So we ended up getting 55 external reviews, and the median load for an external reviewer was just a single paper. And as I mentioned earlier, in addition to having the standard PC members, this year we had 4 area chairs who did a tremendous amount of work. So I really want to acknowledge them. So this year's area chairs were Jens Palsberg, Nate Foster over here, Rupsha Samantha, and Rupak Majumdar. And like I said, they basically read and provided feedback on all the reviews. And this is a Herculean job. They basically each read over 300 reviews, and they wrote meta reviews for each submission. Okay, now let's talk about the number of submissions and acceptance rate. So the number of submissions this year was very similar to 2021. So last year we received 320 submissions. This year it just increased by 6, so it's basically pretty much exactly the same. And of those 326 submissions, 238 of them proceeded to round 2. So that's 73% of the papers got 4 or more reviews. And in the end, we ended up accepting 68 out of the 326 submissions, which makes the acceptance rate around 21%. So this is very similar to the statistics from 2020, where the acceptance rate was 22%, and it is a little bit lower than 2021, where the acceptance rate was 27%. Okay, so now let me also talk a little bit about the awards. This year, we gave out 3 different types of awards. So there was the Distinguished Artifact Awards, which Nikki and Shinyu ran, and Nikki is going to talk about that process later on. And the 2 additional awards that we had was the Distinguished Papers. And the criteria for Distinguished Papers was that the paper had to be nominated by at least 1 PC member. And there's a typo here, it should say top 10%, and it had to be among the top 10% of the papers in terms of the scores. And in the end, there were 6 papers that received these criteria, and those papers ended up getting a Distinguished Paper Award. And in addition, some new thing this year that we also instituted, and I really want to thank, if Jens is in the audience, I really want to thank him for this suggestion. We also had, oh, I remember, he mentioned he left, but anyway, I want to thank Jens anyway. So he made this suggestion about giving out distinguished reviewer awards. And so we basically, as you might remember from Wednesday lunch, we also gave out distinguished reviewer awards, and the process for that was they were selected by the area chairs and myself based on the quality of the reviews and kind of like the ratings from other members of the PC. And even though we already, recognized the awards, I just want to kind of like flash the Distinguished Paper Award winners on this slide for a second, and let's give the authors of the distinguished papers another round of applause. And this year's distinguished reviewers are Nadia Polikarpova, as we also announced on Wednesday, Robert Trend, Dana Drexler-Cohen, Colin Gordon, Barish Kashikcha, and Caroline Lemieux, and only Nadia is here, but let's please give all of these another round of applause. Okay, so that's kind of the statistics. Now I just want to, take a moment to kind of tell you about the reflections and to my personal opinions about what worked or didn't work in the process. So in my opinion, having area chairs was immensely helpful in ensuring review quality because they basically read through all the reviews. I also read through the reviews, but having like extra eyes to look over the reviews, this was extremely, extremely helpful. And there was a lot of back and forth between the area chairs and the reviewers where they requested some changes. And I think that ended up being very helpful in getting high quality feedback and respectful feedback back to the authors. And this is a personal opinion. There might be disagreements, I think, within the steering committee, but I personally thought that having a single flat program committee worked well. And personally, one of the things I like about having a single flat PC was that basically all the reviewers' opinions are taken into account in the decision making, whereas if you have this layered PC, the external review committee members may not get to express their opinions during the PC meeting. So I think having kind of an equal say from all the reviewers is kind of important for having a process that is fair to both the authors as well as the reviewers. But again, that's just my personal opinion. And I also thought that the Toronto paper matching system actually worked very well. At least I haven't had any like major complaints, and I think people were generally happy about their review assignments. And I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who contributed to the PLDI PC. So if you were part of the PC, please stand up and let's thank them for their service to PLDI. And like I said, I want to especially acknowledge the 4 area chairs, Jens, Rupsha, Rupak, and Nate, who did a lot of work in ensuring that we got high quality reviews in the end. And finally, I also want to acknowledge a few other people who were really, really helpful. So one of them is my PhD student, Jocelyn, who's somewhere in the audience. Jocelyn, where are you? She's signed. Oh, there she is in the back. So she helped me a lot. She basically like wrote a bunch of like the scripts. She like helped me with various logistics. She did like really a lot of work behind the scenes, and I really owe her a lot for all her help in running the PC. So thank you, Jocelyn. And another person I want to acknowledge is Eran Yahav, who was the program committee chair from PLDI 2021. He gave me a lot of tips before when I was forming the PC and throughout the process, and his advice has really been invaluable throughout. And finally, last but not least, I want to acknowledge Ranjit, who, like in addition to his duties as general chair, he was also very helpful in the reviewing process and the PC selection and so on. And finally, I want to thank all of you for contributing to PLDI as authors and attendees. I'm so happy that we could finally get together in person, and it's been really, really fun. So thank you for being here and submitting your best work to PLDI 22. And now Nikki here will tell you about the artifact evaluation.
Oh, thank you, Isil. So I am one of the two co-chairs of the artifact evaluation this year, and we give the badges. So let me very briefly explain the 3 badges that the artifact, you can see for the artifact. So first of all, we have the available badge, and this doesn't go through the artifact evaluation committee. So even if you don't want to submit, you can make your artifact available and you're going to get this badge. We don't evaluate this. And then we have 2 more badges, the functional and the reusable. And functional means that the reviewers judge, evaluate that all the claims of the paper are supported by the artifact, and this is the basic badge that we give. And then we have the reusable. The idea is that the artifact can be reused, which ideally means that you can even change the artifact and produce new results. But the basic requirement is this well-packaged, well-documented artifact that somebody externally can see and understand what is happening. And the new thing this year that came from the publisher and came late, and it was not in the call, is that this year we only gave either the functional or the reusable. So you will only see maximum 2 badges on the papers, which anyway, reusable was strictly better, but this year we only give the reusable. So let me tell you the statistics. We have 53 artifacts, which is 78% of the PLDI papers. And we accepted 97 of them. So we accepted 49 either with functional or with reusable badge. And this number is more or less the same as last year. And what is important is that the goal of artifact evaluation is not to reject. So we want all of the badges to get accepted. And to do that, we have these 3 phases of the evaluation. So we start with the first phase, that is this kick the tire phase, and the reviewers just check that the artifact exists and they can download it and run it, and they just give this first very basic review. And then the second phase is the important one, that the reviewers evaluate the artifact and give their opinion. And then we open the communication between reviewers and authors. And the goal of this interaction and open communication is actually to improve the artifact and go to this reusable badge. And then at some point, phase 2 finishes, so we close the communication and we let the reviewers judge the badge. And it is important that the goal of our evaluation is to make good artifacts. And to achieve this, we have the reviewers that are very committed, and we only had 2 or 3 artifacts per reviewer. And to achieve this, we need a huge program committee. So we have these 48 reviewers. I don't know if any artifact reviewer is in the room. We can thank them. No. They were very committed. I am always impressed because it's a lot of work and they're very excited about this. And the way to get these good reviewers and this big size of committee is this self-nomination form. So about before Christmas, we have these self-nominations that anyone can nominate themselves for artifact. And also we have a normal nomination that usually supervisors nominate their students. But if you want to serve in the committee next year, look out around before Christmas. We're going to have we will open up this new self-nomination form. That's all. So the chairing is 2-year rolling position. So I'm stepping down this year, and the new co-chair is going to be Manuel Rieger. And lastly, we have this Best Artifact Award. It got announced on Wednesday too. It goes to Haliassos, Sotiropoulos, Spinellis, Gervais, Lifshitz, and Mitropoulos for the finding typing compiler bugs. Yeah, and I quoted some of the reviews. Like, we had many artifacts with good reviews, so it was like difficult to decide, but like these are the basic requirements, like well packaged, well documented, everything ran successful, but like we gave the award to this paper because also like reviewers were excited and had these extremely pedagogical artifact comments. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Nikki. All right, so I am Tyler Sorensen, UC Santa Cruz, and me and Juby Taneja were co-chairs of the SRC this year. Unfortunately, Juby couldn't make it to this meeting. She had to take off early, but I think she is around remotely, so hi, Juby. All right, so before we announce the awards, I just want to talk a little bit about the SRC. Juby and I did a few changes that I think were pretty interesting. The first thing that we did is kind of from the get-go, we decided to do a 2-track model because we knew there was going to be a lot of uncertainty around COVID, and we knew the students especially were feeling a lot of stress, not knowing if they were going to be able to submit and travel, and you know, it's always a little bit of a stress to know if you're going to have funding. So from the very get-go, we kind of said, you can submit to in-person, virtual, you can kind of change it up, and I think that relieved a lot of stress, especially early on, and you know, it ended up working out really well. We had a virtual poster session and an in-person poster session, and we just want to say thanks a lot to Haneli, who helped a lot with the virtual part, and Dan as well. I think it went really, really great, and then what we did is we kind of joined the 2 sessions at the end for the finalist talk, or for the finalist presentations, and so that was a nice change. The other thing that we did is we wanted to have an emphasis on students getting feedback for their work, because we know that they submit these posters and you know they want to imminently turn these into paper submissions. So for this, when we had the initial reviews, we kind of changed it from an accept reject model to major minor revisions, and this is what the reviewers all saw, and it really encouraged the judges to give feedback on how they could revise their work to get it ready for submissions. And we think that this ended up working out pretty well. And just to give some stats, we had 11 accepted posters. 4 of them were remote and 7 were in person. We only had 1 undergrad this year and we had 10 graduate. For the judges, again, we wanted to give a lot of feedback. So we had a lot of judges, and these are just the initial judges I'm listing on the screen. There were 16 of them. That gave us 4 reviews per submission. And again, because we switched it to the major minor revisions, these were all very actionable feedback that the students got. And then once we got in person, as some of you know, we wrangled a few more in-person judges to get even more feedback. There were 2 virtual poster judges and 6 finalist judges. So I just want to say thanks to everybody who helped out with that. And now to go on to the winners, for the next slide, I'll list the winners. If the winners are here, I don't know if they are, you can stand up and let's applaud at the end for all of them. So without further ado, let's go to the grad category. So the winners for the SRC this year in the graduate category. For the gold, it is a type system for safe intermittent computing by Miliana Srbatovic. We can clap too. And silver is program synthesis for processor development using formal specifications by Zachary D. Sisko. And bronze is Finding Good Generators with Multi-Arm Bandits by Joseph W. Cutler. Let's see, are any of them here? Oh, yep, looks like they are. Okay. Find me afterwards and we'll get you the award and talk about the next steps. But I just want to mention that everybody did a really great job. We had great presentations, great posters, and if you saw from the picture at the beginning, we had a lot of engagement out there on the lawn. It was really wonderful. And unfortunately, we didn't have anyone from the undergrad track advance to the finals. So just to announce for next year's chairs, I'll be stepping down. It's a 2-year rotation. And so Juby will be doing it next year with Chandra Nadi. And I just want to say thanks again to all the participants and judges. And here's a nice picture of all of us out there on the lawn. So thanks, everyone. And
So next up, we have the sneak preview, as it were, of PLDI 2023 with Steve Blackburn and Nate Foster. And Steve is going to kick the ball off.
Okay, well, thank you, Ranjit. It's my great pleasure to speak to you here from Australia. I'm really sorry I can't be there in person, but I hear you're having an absolutely fantastic time. I'm going to speak to you very briefly about PLDI 2023, and I'm going to do that with Nate Foster, who I'm very pleased to announce is the program chair for PLDI 2023, and I'm the general chair. So that's myself and Nate. And I'd like to introduce to you the organizing committee for PLDI 2023. Nearly all of the positions have been filled. There are a few that we haven't filled yet, but mostly they're filled. One small change that we've made this year is now nearly every role has a co-chair. There's a very good tradition at PLDI where the organizing committee is, most of the roles are co-chaired, and in each year, there'll be one fresh person and one person who did it the previous year. This allows us, A, to share the workload, and B, to keep institutional memory, because we've got a hand-over-hand model. So that's one of the things, one of the small changes we're going to do this year is to introduce for the 1 or 2 roles that didn't have co-chairs, we'll do that. And we're also planning to increase the number of student volunteer coordinators from 2 to 3. But here you see the faces of some of the organizing committee, the ones that are in place as of now. So I'm very pleased to announce that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about where PLDI 2023 is going to be. And from what I hear, it's going to be a very hard act to follow. Now, some of you may know, or many of you will know, that there's a tradition that PLDI is normally held in the place where the general chair is. So many of you know that Ranjit is located in San Diego. So you're probably wondering, do you get to go to Australia next year? The bad news is you don't get to go to Australia next year. The good news, however, is that PLDI every 4 years is co-located with FCRC, which is a gathering of top computer science conferences from all across computer science. And next year, PLDI will participate in FCRC. So, and that's going to be in Orlando, Florida. And I've got a few slides here which are produced by the FCRC organizers, which I'll just flip through for you so you can get tremendously excited about this. Here we are. There are 11 conferences, a very large venue, 7 days. One of the benefits of having 11 conferences in one place is that we often have fantastic keynotes, and we get to catch up with colleagues who are in adjacent fields who we don't always see at PLDI. And there are the dates. So the location is Orlando, Florida, not Sydney, Australia, sadly. But I think it'll be great. And the really exciting thing is that it's FCRC, which means that we get to rub shoulders with so many other computer scientists. And those of you who've experienced FCRC in the past will know it's a really fun thing to do. And here's a list of the conferences. And there's the URL for FCRC, and the PLDI 2023 website will be live very soon. And that's all I have to say. And at this point, I'm going to hand over to Nate, who will pick up from here. So thank you all.
Great. So I'm Nate Foster from Cornell. Really excited to be the PLDI 23 PC chair and really excited to work with Steve, who was actually the program chair the first time I was on the PLDI PC and did an amazing job. So a little bit of background. Ishil covered some of this in her 22 report. The steering committee is continuing to study how best to run PLDI, both the makeup of the PC, things like PACM, and we've been conducting surveys, which hopefully many of you have participated in. And there's been disruptions due to COVID, so this is a topic we're still thinking about. The goals are, of course, we want to select excellent papers for PLDI, especially in a year where we're at FCRC. We want to really showcase the best of PL research that's been submitted. We want to provide feedback to all authors. This is something that I'm sure many of you take advantage of. When you submit to a SIG Plan conference, you get really great reviews. And we want the review process to be fair and have the highest levels of integrity to the extent possible. Then lastly, being a part of the body that picks papers for conferences is one way that we sort of mentor younger people and sort of bring them into the community. So we want to find ways to, while we do our work of selecting papers, also do these community aspects. So my plans for PLDI 23 are still not fully formed. The steering committee is, as I said, making a bunch of decisions. But I definitely want to have a large and diverse PC. The PL community is growing in topics. And supporting diversity is a very important thing. I want to build on the initiatives that Ishil brought in, so using TPMS to assign reviews seems like a great idea. Using area chairs to help manage the scale and make sure that reviews are constructive and polite and have calibration across different sub-areas of the community, and having really high engagement deliberative processes to make decisions. And of course, having a dinner for the PC so we can get to know each other and enjoy some time. Okay, so I hope you all submit your best work. The deadline will be in November as usual, and looking forward to seeing all your papers.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Foster. I'm the chair of SIG Plan, and I'm just going to give you 3 slides about SIG Plan. And if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, please just find me right after this or later today, and I'd love to chat with you. So what is SIG Plan, right? So you probably should all know this. Just in case, it's a special interest groups on programming languages, and we oversee PLDI, POPL, ICFP, Splash, PLMW, SIG Plan Cares, the SIG Plan Mentoring Program, and more. SIG Plan has close to 2,000 members, and that actually makes us the 4th largest SIG in ACM, which is not something that I really realized before. But so we're pretty big, and of course our mission is to promote programming languages research. And we're run entirely by volunteers, right? Which is good and bad, right? So the bad part is we're volunteers and not professionals, but the good part is we're really you. And so if you have ideas, if you want to contribute, please try to do so. We'll be happy to have your help. So I wanted to give you updates on just 2 things about SIG Plan, really. So the first is you might be wondering how we're doing given COVID. SIG Plan pays for a lot of things. We pay for student travel, for example, to PLDI and other places. We help support summer schools. We help pay for conference management and infrastructure, the SIG Plan blog, SIG Plan awards, and more. The money for that comes from membership fees, the digital library, conferences. If there's any excess, that goes back to SIG Plan. And we have some reserves, so we get some interest on that. And everything is good news. So all our finances are very healthy despite the challenges of COVID. So we came through that just fine. I think we were all very worried that we were going to have a bit of a disaster on our hands, but we didn't. And it's basically because all the people who run our conferences, all the general chairs, let's give another round of applause for Ranjit for doing a fantastic job. All right, so they all do a great job, and we have comfortable reserves thanks to good management for many years. So we are in great shape. Let me tell you about a few updates. So as you have realized, in-person conferences are back. Yay! But we're still going to have some kind of remote participation, and you can expect further experiments because I don't think we've hit on quite the right modeled yet. We're still trying to figure out what's possible. And I think remote participation is very important because we want our community to be open and accessible, and allowing people who can't maybe afford to come here, even given funding from Sig Plan, we want them to be able to participate in some way. I wanted to give you a heads up that after many, many years of very low inflation in the US, and I think many places in the world, you all know inflation worldwide is increasing, and at some point that's going to translate to higher registration costs. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a warning about that. That just has to happen, right? Because the hotels and the conference venues are going to charge us more, so we have to pass that on. I wanted to give a plug for ACM Open. So we always get questions about PLDI and open access and things like that, right? PLDI is currently green open access, which means you can go through the author's web pages to get free access to all the papers if the author posts an appropriate link. But ACM is changing their model, right? And ACM Open is an initiative where institutions replace their digital library subscription with a subscription to ACM Open, and they pay on a sliding scale based on how many papers their members publish in ACM venues, right? So places that publish more pay more, places that publish less get in for a lot less. And once your institution is part of ACM Open, if the corresponding author is at that institution, then the paper is just gold open access automatically. Nothing more needs to be done. There's no extra payments. It's taken care of through ACM Open. So I just want to encourage you all. This is where ACM is going. And if you look on the web, you can search and you can find a list of institutions that currently participate. And I want to encourage you to have your institution join ACM Open, because the great thing about PL researchers is we're everywhere. So if you contact whoever manages digital library access, so for Tufts University where I am, it was the folks at the library. So we contacted them. We said, hey, ACM has this new thing. And they said, okay, we'll join it. And they did. So if you all do that, you can help ACM transition to this model as quickly as possible and get open access for everyone. I wanted to mention another ACM level thing. So there is now this thing called the Acm Violations Database, and that is active, although we're still working out some of the details. So what this is about is if someone is found to have violated ACM's policies, for example, plagiarism, or maybe sexual harassment at a conference, right? Some things we really don't want to have happen. And if someone has been found to have violated one of these policies, then their name will be added to this database. And then when conference organizers do things like ask people to be on program committees, they are supposed to run the names through the database to see whether anyone is not allowed to do that because they've violated some policy. So I wanted to let you know this for two reasons. So one is ACM takes violations of its policies very seriously, right? And there's this new mechanism to make sure that sanctions are observed. And the second is, unless you get a letter from ACM saying that you are in this, you are not in this, right? So there's a quite a substantial process that after an allegation, the allegation can't be anonymous. There's an investigation, and then eventually, like, a formal letter is issued, and you would only be in the database for a certain length of time. So again, you don't have to worry about this, but you should know that it's there. And I want to echo what Catherine said the other day. We have Sig Plan Cares, and if you want to talk to someone without necessarily reporting it all the way to ACM, but if something has happened that you feel uncomfortable with, please talk to Sig Plan Cares about it. We don't want things festering. I also wanted to say there's a search ongoing for the Topos editor-in-chief. So Andrew Myers has been doing this great job for several years, but he's stepping down. So I know he's going to say this later, but I wanted to mention it so we can all thank Andrew for his service as Topos editor-in-chief. And so that search is ongoing, and the PACM PL editor-in-chief, Phil Wadler, is also finishing up his term this year, and we'll have a call for nominations out soon. So if you have names for that, or if you think that you're interested, please keep an eye out for that. All right, so that's all I have to say. If you have any comments, suggestions, complaints, anything you want to talk about with Sig Plan, please get in touch. All right, thank you all. All right, so now Tony Initial will talk to you about the Sig Plan Awards.
Okay, we get to the fun part of the program. So as you are probably aware, Sig Plan gives a number of awards every year. Some of these are very distinguished awards, and we are going to be announcing a few of those today as well. There are some awards that require nomination. I just want to put a plug for you in the community to be thinking about nominating people who you think are deserving of the various awards that Sig Plan offers. If you look at the awards webpage on the Sig Plan website, you'll see all the slate of awards that are available. In particular, some of those awards don't get so many nominations. And it's very important that we get nominees to each of the awards every year because we do want to recognize all the wonderful things that are happening in the community. And there's one particular award that I'd like to plug, and that is the Distinguished Educator Award. We had no nominations to the Distinguished Educator Award for this year, and I would like to ask that people think about the broad things that we do in our community. One of those things is education, and we have an important role to play in the education of people from the programming languages perspective. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to some awards. I'm going to actually present the first award, which is the PLDI 12 Most Influential Paper Award. Again, I announced this at lunch on Wednesday, but there was not really an opportunity there to actually recognize this award. And so we're going to make that formal presentation here now, which is the paper that is presented at 10 years after the conference in which it appeared. So the important thing to recognize here, this is effectively a test of time award. It's an award that is decided 10 years hence by the program chair of the year in which it appeared, the general chair of the year in which it appeared, and the general chair and program chair of the previous year's conference in which it's awarded. So last year's program chair and general chair were the members of that committee. And of course, I was happy to announce that this paper appeared in PLDI 12 and has received the Most Influential Paper Award. And I'm hoping John and others are here. Is John Regier here? And others? So you're the sole representative of the 6 authors of this paper, and there are actually 6 certificates here. I'm going to ask you how we're going to get those to the other authors as well, but here's a certificate for you. And congratulations again, John. I'll just quickly say about the paper. There is a citation there. Finding small valid C programs that trigger C compiler bugs is hard. Distilling a bug-causing compiler to input to its essence was previously a largely manual process assisted by delta debugging. This work enhanced delta debugging with new techniques for generally valid, without undefined behavior, critically, that's an important point, test variants, including pluggable program transformations that perform reduction operations to produce tests that are 25 times smaller than previous schemes. This influenced the broader testing and fuzzing communities beyond compiler testing by reinforcing the importance of domain-specific transformers for test case reduction and seed generation for fuzzing. And I don't know if you want to say a few words, John, just briefly about the paper. And 10 years on, it's an interesting reflection, I think.
No, I'd just like to thank the community and say that I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
John is clearly wanting to get to coffee. All right. The next award is one that will be presented by Ishil.
All right, it's my pleasure to announce this year's Doctoral Dissertation Award. So first, let me give you a little bit of background about the Dissertation Award. So this award is presented annually to the author of an outstanding dissertation. And the award also comes with a monetary prize of $1,000, but of course it's like that's not what matters. It's the distinction of having this outstanding dissertation. So the committee this year, I was the chair, and the other people on the committee were Tom Reps, Milan Kulkarni, Stephanie Wyrick, and Hidehiko Masuhara. And if you're interested in learning more, you can, there is this link from the SIG Plan awards page. So this year, the committee had a very hard time choosing between two really, really excellent dissertations. So at the end, we couldn't we couldn't say one is better than the other, so we decided to have co-winners. And it's my pleasure to announce that this year's co-winners are Uri Alon, as I announced at Wednesday lunch. He did his PhD at the Technion with Eran Yahav, and Jay Lim, who did his PhD at Rutgers with Santosh here. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about these dissertations. So Uri's dissertation is called Machine Learning for Programming Language Processing. And the citation is as follows. So the dissertation has made significant contributions to the emerging area of language models for code, an exciting topic that lies at the intersection of machine learning and programming languages. A central question of the dissertation is how to effectively leverage the structure available in programming languages to provide novel neural solutions to programming-related tasks. And overall, the committee found that Uri's dissertation combines insights from the PL and ML communities in a very elegant way to solve many coding-related problems of practical interest, and it stands out in terms of its breadth of contributions, interdisciplinary nature, and high-quality writing. So I would like to invite Uri to the podium to receive a certificate. Congratulations, Uri. Congratulations. And next up, let me tell you a little bit about Jay's dissertation. So Jay's dissertation is titled Novel Polynomial Approximation Methods for Generating Correctly Rounded Elementary Functions. And the citation is as follows. So Jay's dissertation makes foundational advances on techniques for generating correctly rounded math libraries for numerous elementary functions for multiple representations and rounding modes. The resulting libraries are significantly faster than the state of the art while producing correct results for all inputs. This is a remarkable achievement that stands out in terms of its direct and immediate impact, and overall the dissertation combines elegant theoretical insights with exemplary experimental results to solve an open problem of practical interest. So again, I'd like to call Jay to the podium to receive a certificate. Congratulations, Jay. And next up, Tony will announce the Robin Milner Young Researcher Award.
So one of the things that this business meeting is effectively, it's the formal business meeting for PLDI at which the awards for the year are actually announced. And it's my very great pleasure to say that we have a very deserving winner of this award for this year. So this is the Robin Milner Young Researcher Award. It's given to recognize outstanding contributions by young investigators in the area of programming languages who are eligible based on their professional career, having started no earlier than 20 years prior to the nominations deadline. And the award includes a prize of $2,500. The committee this year was Sandrine Blasey, Suresh Jagannathan, Ranjit, and Eric Tunter. And each of those members represents one of the four different communities, four conferences that we have in our community. I'm very happy to announce that Victor Vafaedis is the winner of the Milner Young Researcher Award. And the citation is necessarily long because of the many key contributions that he has made. Of course, he started out with his PhD thesis doing the Rely Guarantee Separation framework for concurrent separation logic to support formal proofs of fine-grained concurrent algorithms. But he's gone on to do many other things, contributing, in fact, to work on CompCert TSO, to present the first verified compiler for a concurrent language under a relaxed memory model. The first direct and mechanized proof of soundness for concurrent separation logic based on operational semantics. And there's some qualitative assessment of that work there as well. The first let's see now, I've lost my place. The first separation logic for the C++ relaxed memory model. This is seen as a tour de force achievement compared to the standard CSL, which assumes sequential consistency. And the fact that this spawned a whole body of work on modular verification of concurrent data structures under relaxed memory models. His work has found and corrected a number of serious flaws in real-world specifications for the C and C++ concurrency model, which led to changes in that C++ standard. So his work has had an influence on the standards of programming languages that people are using every day. His promising semantics for relaxed memory concurrency offered one of the first viable solutions to the 30-year-old out-of-thin-air problem, and spawned much follow-on work. His work on GenMC presented the first efficient model checkers for relaxed memory C and C++ programs with optimality guarantees about their state space exploration. And of course, he has mentored additional people, Azalia Rad being one of them. His work with Azalia presented the first persistency semantics for non-volatile memory on multi-core architectures. He's not only highly cited and incredibly prolific, he is also a true pioneer, repeatedly exploring dauntingly technical problems in the semantics and verification of concurrent programs before others dare to try. So I would like to congratulate Victor. He will be accepting his award at Popple. So this is the formal announcement of his award, but he will be there at Popple to accept the award. Now, I also announced an award on Wednesday. Wednesday to recognize Mike Hicks, who for his distinguished service to ACM. This is the formal description of that award, recognizing the value and degree of services to the programming languages community, recognizing contributions to ACM Sig Plan, its conferences, publications, or its local activities. The committee is there. Some of these people are themselves prior award winners of the Distinguished Service Award. And there is a citation for Mike, and it's important to recognize the various things he's done for our community. He's been incredibly committed and energetic in the Sig Plan community for many long years, served on the Sig Plan Executive Committee as an excellent chair for 3 years, and a past chair and trusted troubleshooter in the Sig Plan community. He had to deal with a few significant issues in his time as chair. He was Topos Associate Editor, Popple PC Chair, and Popple Steering Committee Chair. And his innovations in these roles included introducing the now standard double-blind reviewing for Popple, seeing through the creation of Acm PL as Gold Open Access, expanding the programming languages mentoring workshop to the Big Four Sig Plan conferences, not just the one, and founding in 2019 and serving as a prolific editor of the highly successful Sig Plan blog PL Perspectives. Served on dozens of Sig Plan conference committees. He's co-founded the Plan QC workshop on programming languages for quantum computing, which attracts attendees from outside our community to come and work with us on this important problem. Mike was a founding member of the Sig Plan Climate Committee, where he brought his usual boundless energy, if you know Mike, he's full of it, to the problem of addressing the carbon footprint of Sig Plans and ACM's conferences, and on the Sig Plan Empirical Evaluation Committee. Mike has also made important innovations in community outreach, in particular via the brilliant Build It, Break It, Fix It contest that he's run for many years at Maryland, which are a wonderful arena for the broader software community to practice their software engineering skills, and a very subversive venue for propagating sound ideas about good engineering practices and the benefits of good programming languages. Is Mike here? Is he here? There is a certificate for you, Mike. And I'm very glad to have read the citation, but actually Mike may have a few words to talk about the importance of service in our community. I think that's a great way for you to go out on this one.
Thank you. It means a lot to me to win the award, especially since if you go to that website link and you look at the other people that won the award, they've done amazing things for the community, so it's a real honor to be included among them. There are many more deserving winners in this room that I hope will win the award soon. And all of the things that I was able to accomplish, I couldn't have done without the help of countless other people on the executive committee, on program committees, on steering committees, and the other things that I served on. I've been inspired by the energy and service mindset of the PL community. Having my feet kind of in the security community and the PL community, I always look to this community as inspiration for how things can be done better. There are so many efforts that are going on, whether it's for inclusiveness or fairness or outreach, you name it. PL folks are taking the lead to make that happen. So it's been a real pleasure to work with all of you, and I hope I can do it for many more years.
One of the other awards that Sig Plan gives is the Software Award, and this is another important award that recognizes institutions or individuals that have developed software systems that have had a significant impact on PL research implementations and tools. Impact may be reflected in the widespread adoption of the system or its underlying concepts by the wider programming language community, either in research projects in the open source community or commercially. And the award has a prize, and there is the committee for this year. So the winner of this year's award follows on the heels of the sequence of award winners over the years, starting out with LLVM in 2010 and then going through all the way through these various deserving winners of the award. And it will be little surprise to know that Sig Plan is also recognizing the CompCert verified compiler platform for the award this year. Now, some of you may be aware that CompCert also won the ACM Wide Award, nominally for 2021, although it was announced only this year, but also interestingly announced after the committee had actually decided this was the winner for the Software Award for the PL community this year. So we're very pleased that we didn't make a mistake. If ACM is recognizing this, surely Sig Plan should. And most importantly, it's important to realize that the team who built CompCert are actually very much appreciative of the fact that this award is coming from their community. And the winners of this award are the members of the developers of CompCert, Xavier Leroy, Sandrine Blasi, Zaina Dagaye, Jacques-Henri Jourdain, Michael Schmidt, Bernhard Schommer, and Jean-Baptiste Tristan. Now, there's a citation here. I'll read it just quickly. CompCert is a fully verified compiler for C that is actually usable on real source code and that produces decent target code on real-world architectures. It seeded a new age of formal verification by dispelling the myth that formal methods could only be done on toy programs in the lab. As a shared artifact, it has enabled the software systems verification community to work together in the same way that GCC or LLVM, both prior winners, have done in earlier generations, putting real-world C programs on a solid formal foundation. Currently targets just about all the processes we might care for: PowerPC, ARM, RISC-V, and x86, supporting all of ISO C99 except for unstructured switch statements, long jump, and variable length array types. CompCert's available under commercial and non-commercial open source licenses and used in the real world for security critical control software, for emergency power generators, and for flight control and navigation algorithms by companies including Airbus. It remains an important shared infrastructure for many of the people in this room's ongoing research. So it's clearly a most deserving winner of the Software Award from ACM Sig Plan.
Now it's my pleasure to announce an award that was also not yet announced during lunch on Wednesday, and this is the Programming Languages Achievement Award, which is one of the most important awards that Sig Plan gives out. So to give some background, the PL Achievement Award is given by Sig Plan to an individual or individuals who've made significant and lasting contributions to the field of programming languages. And there was the selection committee this year was me, Nate, Cormac, Jonathan Aldrich, and Robbie Findler. And drumroll, the winner of the PL Achievement Award is also Xavier Leroy. And unfortunately, Xavier couldn't make it to PLDI this year, so if you are interested in hearing his acceptance speech, he's going to be accepting this award officially at ICFP. So check out ICFP coming up in September this year. And one thing that I want to mention, given that Xavier, it's been a good year for Xavier, I just want to clarify that the committees for the Service Award and the PL Achievement Award were completely separate. And in fact, I don't think the members of the committee, of the PL Achievement Award committee, even knew that CompCert had been nominated for the software award. So these decisions were completely independent. So let me read a small excerpt from the citation. The citation itself was much longer, so I'm just reading an excerpt here. So Xavier Leroy has made fundamental contributions to both the theory and practice of programming languages on a range of topics, including type system and module design, efficient compilation of functional programming languages, bytecode verification, verified compilation, and verified static analysis. He is known as the main architect of the OCaml programming language and the author of the CompCert verified compiler that you just heard about. And both of these projects have had enormous impact in the PL community and beyond, and they've significantly pushed the boundaries of what is perceived as possible. So let's give a round of applause to Xavier once again. And next up, I will hand it over to Andrew to talk about Topos.
Okay, thank you. So I am acutely aware that I'm standing between you and coffee, so I will try to be brief. So I just want to thank the Topos editorial board, which has a number of people who are here on it and is a wonderful set of people to work with. So as Jeff mentioned, my term as editor-in-chief ends this summer, and there is already a process underway to select a new editor-in-chief. Jens Paulsberg is heading the committee for that, and but I think there's still time to get in applications if you are interested in doing this. So a couple of things that have been happening. Topos is now gold open access, and all of the past issues of Topos are fully available on the web, which I think is a wonderful resource for the community. As you have probably noticed, Topos also has a journal-first publication model that has been growing. So there was a paper, in fact, here at PLDI this year, and at Popl there were 3 papers. So we're seeing more and more Topos papers getting presented at various conferences, including Popl, PLDI, UPSLA, and ECOOP. So that's really a great model, and I encourage you to think about that as a way to get your work out there. We're also trying to encourage a submission of a broader collection of publication types, surveys, tutorials, and experimental reports, which I think includes replication studies as well. So I think that's a great place to send that kind of work. My goal is to have Topos be the place where we can have the canonical resources that we point researchers to as a way to get started in a particular research area. And so I think it serves that role. So with that, let me just say, let me encourage you to submit. I think the reviewing quality in this community is excellent, and I think actually Topos, on average, represents the very apex, actually, of that reviewing quality. So if you want to get wonderful feedback on your work and produce the best possible work, this is the place to send papers. Okay, and now I think I will hand off to Talia.
All right, awesome. Just one slide here. I want to talk very quickly about Sig Plan M. So this is a long-term mentoring program that we launched about 2 years ago. It's an external, cross-institutional long-term mentoring program. So it matches mentors with mentees from all over the world with each other for relationships lasting about a year by default. So, at this point, it's reached 41 countries right now. We have hundreds of mentors, hundreds of mentees, and a really wonderful committee helping us out. So anyone can sign up as either a mentor or a mentee or both. So a lot of people sign up as both. And yeah, we have everyone from we have students serving as mentors, we have faculty as mentees. So don't be shy. You can sign up on the website. You can follow us on Twitter for news. And we also welcome volunteers. And yeah, thanks to everyone who's helped out with that so far. It's been really wonderful. And that's it.